What am I doing? I had forgotten. Like, the thing started, but the music is nice. Like, you be there and the music in the background just makes you want to go, and you ask yourself, why? Why am I doing all this? Why am I bopping and hopping on the what? On the podcast. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to yet another episode of the Sunday Talk Track with yours truly, Roy the Alchemist, aka Kamada, aka Ochawa Giramanyu, aka Nofachi Neviensi, aka the adopted father of the Karabike. Which I don't. I will. No, you see, a big part of being a good father is nurturing and harnessing. I'm still nurturing and harnessing. Once the nurturing and harnessing is done, the Karabike will be on the road. And yes, the Talk Track is an independent production of the Kara Junkies. It's produced, edited, and sound mixed by Morris, aka Moro Moro, aka Mukono Moja, aka Unilateral DJ. And yesterday he got the name, aka Kara Junkie. You're the face of the Kara Junkies, by the way. Everyone says Kara Junkies and they just go, Morris. That is Morris. We're going to put a sticker on the Karabike. Does it already have a sticker? I want to put a sticker on the Karabike and we see. We see. That's going to be your identity for a little bit of time. We do not own any of the rights to the music you're going to be hearing in the background. And the views, of course, expressed on the Talk Track do not reflect the policies of any entities affiliated with the Talk Track, that is the Barrow House or the Kara Junkies. These are independent opinions presented from experience and perspective. But if you feel like there is something you've learned, feel free to leave a like and a comment. You can check us out on our socials at Talk Track UG, that is on YouTube. And if you want, you can also check us out on Instagram for the reels. We're doing real talk, real impact today. By the way, let's first talk that tagline. Oh, before I proceed, shout out to the Barrow House. We are plot 8B, Gabula Road, the Barrow House. Morris is going to pan up there so you can see the Barrow House exactly as a Barrow House. The Barrow House is the unofficial home of the Kara Junkies. I think we've done everything at the Barrow House that can be done. The only thing that I've not yet gotten from here is a Grammy and maybe a Nobel Prize. They should give me a Nobel Prize, by the way, from the Barrow House. I'm just saying. I think I'd be a very good Nobel laureate. For what exactly? I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Okay, let me start with something that's been on my mind. Do you guys know what a meerkat is? That animal, a meerkat. What Timon and Pumbaa. If you've seen The Lion King, if you've watched, if you're familiar with Timon and Pumbaa. Pumbaa was the warthog, eh? Pumbaa was the warthog. Timon is the meerkat, right? Very, very stubborn guys. Now, what you guys have been seeing on Twitter, of this entire week actually, has been one animal with a toothpick. Our guys have not let that rest. Has been that one animal with a toothpick. And because of the universal expression that this animal has on its face, it's been used to sort of portray incidences that we think are going to happen, but are reflective of something else. Like, for example, if you're in surgery, I saw one where they're like, "Oh, sorry, we cut the wrong leg." But there have been so many. I don't want to get political here, but there was one about clinging to power. There was, let me see, which other one? A few stood up for me. There was the one with the surgery. There was one about the neighbor. Your neighbor looking at you when he knows he has been there with your wife. Then there was one of the Uber guy. Your Uber guy seeing you kiss your girlfriend that he just picked up from another man's house. Let me tell you, Ugandans might be the most serious unserious people on the planet. That is the truth. Because the amount of time and creativity it takes to come up with things like that. I mean, I used to think I would go onto Twitter to like get knowledge and new information, which I still do occasionally. There's Twitter accounts that I follow for specifically for the knowledge and the information. But let me tell you, on a very bad day in my life, there's two things that can make me feel better. One is seeing a baby smile. Babies have very nice smiles. There's no way you can see a baby smile and remain stressed. But number two, Ugandans on Twitter. Why is now Ugandans on X? UOX. the creativity that people have on that platform, let me tell you, it's serious. We need to give Ugandans more credit, by the way. Us, as Ugandans, need to give each other more credit because the things that we're able to come up with in such a... and the fact that it's never that serious. Like, it's always funny. You tell me any other demographic of people that can consistently come up with funny things, even in the worst moment. A Boda guy broke down for me the relationship between Iran and Iraq, and trust me, I will never look at it the same way again. I'm not going to break it down here the way he did, but he compared Iran to a woman with big nyash and Israel, a woman with small nyash, and then, yeah, I wish I could host him here. Man had very, very pleasant insights. It wasn't Bako. Bako is for Marege Nama Swing. No, it wasn't Bako, but I also... Speaking of Boda guys, I have a colleague of mine, very tall chap like this. I'll give him a special shout out here. It's called FX. FX writes what they call a random musing. Now, for those that follow my statuses on WhatsApp, I have what they call mini vanities. Now, FX's equivalent is a random musing, and he once started. He did a random musing where he said, and I quote, "All the pleasure of having a silent border ride." I'm like, why? I mean, sometimes border guys will talk your ear off. We've all used Bako. We know they have a lot of talk, but I think there's a lot to be learned from those cyclists. Those guys are very, very sharp in their own way. And 95% of them, I won't go there. I was going to say something about certain people, but I won't go there. We're a syndicated program. We cannot allow to be taken down on technicalities. Other than the tweets we've been seeing and everything that has been going on, I have been bombarded by thoughts about artificial intelligence. AI specific. Okay, not specifically, because artificial intelligence is definitely AI. Now remember, none of us seated down here, and someone, they're going to pan the camera soon to the speaker. Someone requested me very nicely, to not talk about AI today. But yeah, we can't ignore the fact that it's a very, very big part of our lives now. And I think it's going to be a very big part of our lives moving forward. Anything that can operate with its own autonomy outside of the control of human beings could be categorically described as artificial intelligence. Again, this is me coming up with definitions from my lived experience with AI. None of us are, unless I might be wrong, there may be an expert on large language models here, and he's seated there and he's looking at me and he's waiting to tell me, it's like, now you see, what you just described there is not AI, you just described a computer chip. But the conversation around AI right now, I think as a service, as a utility, it's been getting a lot more attention because it's moving into fields we never thought AI would move into, right? Recently, we were having a conversation and where AI is getting into medicine and AI is getting into transportation. Tesla has self-driving cars, if you can believe that. That is a car you enter in and just punch in your destination, and that car will take you to exactly where you want to go, right? Everything is smart these days, and as long as something technological is categorized as smart, I think in this day and age, there is involvement of AI in some way, shape, or form, right? You have places like China, I think Korea, Japan, they have smart houses, tiny houses like this, where everything is computerized. And you can actually give your house instructions. You were having AI being embedded in almost every social media platform that we use now. Twitter, okay, X, formerly Twitter, has an AI called Grok. It's called Grok, right? Facebook and Instagram, for those who still use Facebook, and WhatsApp have Meta. Of course, we like to call it our very good friend, ChatGPT. Whenever we talk about AI, the first thing that comes to someone's mind is ChatGPT. Hey, Chat, Can you do this and can you do that? And but that's just to mention but a few. There is DeepSeek. I mean, countries are actually now going into um, almost technological battles, something equivalent of like the Cold War. I wouldn't say equivalent to the Cold War, but it could be categorized as such. Like when the USSR at the time and the United States, okay, Russia and the United States were in the battle over which country was going to get a man to the moon first, right? Recently, we had still China and the United States competing over 5G. Who's going to get 5G out there quicker? And now I think the world is slowly shifting and superpowers are now competing over who can give us the best AI. China earlier this year released their own version of ChatGPT called DeepSeek at about maybe 70% less money than the United States did, but it operated about maybe 3 or 4 times better than ChatGPT from OpenAI. And that was a whole thing. The American stock market almost crashed at some point because of DeepSeek coming onto the market. If artificial intelligence can be utilized to the point where it can almost dismantle a stock market, then we cannot sit here and pretend like it's not a big part of our everyday lives right now, right? You're going to hear a lot of people, AI is ruining how we think. AI is making us overly dependent on technology. AI is creating very antisocial, making us very antisocial people, which to some extent it could be true, right? But the fact is, this entity is not going anywhere. Like completely, artificial intelligence is here to stay. We need to make peace with that. So, just like briefly, what has been? That was a very long introduction. Morris, stop yawning. You're not in class. That was a very long introduction. But in your experience, for those that are here with us today, in your experience, how have you found AI? Like that's as simply as I can put it. Like your utilization of AI, how was that? Is that something you're into? Is that something that you've incorporated? Is that something that took you a bit of time to get used to, or is it something that you're fully on board with and use every day? Do you use AI to come up with good morning texts? It's good. How do I wish myself a good morning? Just ask. Hi chat. How do I wish myself a good? By the way, if you're doing that, that's another level of loneliness. Yes, how do I wish myself a good morning? You chat GPT, guys, chat. But anyway, yeah. What has been your experience with the AI? For the time that you have used it. You see them handing over the mic. People are fearing to start.
What has been my experience with AI? I'm going to give some example of something I saw on the internet, where some guy posted, as they are busy, warning people that AI is going to take over their jobs. And then he was like, he showed the job he does. He is those guys, those roads that are very hard to cross. And then there's a guy who has his own bridge, like a ladder. He puts it there, you give him money, you cross, he removes it. So I think I'm that guy, like I know AI is there, but I don't think I've really taken time to understand how it works or how it's going to affect me. Have I used the AI? Yes. There was a time when it was trending where people were asking AI to put pictures to make them cartoons. Did I try that?
The Ghibli challenge.
Yes, I
everyone,
did.
I think everyone did the Ghibli challenge. If
Yes.
you use ChatGPT and didn't do the Ghibli challenge, then I don't know. It
Yeah.
kept giving me beards in places I didn't have. But that's the only thing I was just saying.
Yes, I did that. But majorly for serious things, I'm not yet there, really.
What counts as serious things on AI?
Pardon?
What counts as serious things?
People are using AI to design websites. People are using AI to produce music. People are using it to create movies. Like, people are really doing great stuff using AI. But I think it's something you really need to take your time to understand how it works for it to be useful.
Do you guys use? For iPhone users, I think Siri is now functioning well in the context of our country, right? There was a point in time where Siri was not accessible in certain parts of the world, and Africa was one of those. But I've seen a lot of users, iPhone users now who can just go, "Hey Siri," which for me, I had given up completely. I'll go, "Hey Siri, can you do this?" But you do realize at the moment that that is also an AI. That is also an AI. So if you have used Siri, if you have used Bixby on Samsungs, if you've used Google Assistant, if any of that, that's all artificial intelligence. So would you still categorize it as, I've not gotten to the point where I understand it that well, or because
I think the example I'm using is like when they say you're using a computer. Like you open it, you put it on, you go to Word, you type something. But then there's a dude there who is using it to code things. Do so many things.
But
so it's basic. There's basic cues where I'm telling, okay, Siri, play for me a song. Siri, do for me this. Because AI is basically, okay, even my Siri has he's dropped me and he's going to play me a song. But I think people are using it for really bigger things.
yeah, bigger things like what really? Let's first talk that. Someone, by the way, people, AI and coding, AI and music, but we're going to talk about AI in those various fields. But I like that, and I like right now. It's very difficult for someone to come up and say, "Oh, by the way, I know what artificial intelligence is. I've just never taken time to understand it and use it to that extent," right? Because all of us want to assume in some way, shape, or form that we might be experts in the utilization of artificial intelligence, right? And it's crazy considering, one, how simple it is, but also two, how not understanding how to use it then becomes a very, very big problem, okay? Because what we have seen is, and again, I will go back to the Ghibli challenge, because the Ghibli challenge was one of the most universal utilizations of AI globally that I have ever seen. The Ghibli challenge. It was universal in the sense that someone in China was turning themselves into a Ghibli cartoon, someone in Ginger was turning themselves into a Ghibli cartoon. It's one of those things that, whether we want to admit it or not, has the capacity to bring people together, artificial intelligence, but it also has the capacity to create divisions, right? I think about it so much in the context of the African culture, in the sense that we as Africans right now are moving into a space that is quickly shifting, in that we are torn between technological advancement and then what we might consider culture and tradition, right? And we are right in between there. And so you have African societies where you have high-end African societies where people have been, exposed to artificial intelligence, and then you still have mothers and children in villages that don't even own a smartphone, right? And this, I think, has become really tricky. And we're going to talk about AI in the African context a little bit soon. But I think, especially us as a growing African community, it gets really tricky for us to navigate artificial intelligence. But before I even go there, I just want to give a special shout out again to our I like to call them our sponsors because they give us the space. The Barrow House. If you can look at Maurice's his cast, he's still Mukono Moja, by the way. He was added another. Well, you have 1 month to go. I feel bad for you. If you look at his he has Disco Baby on it. That's a special shout out to the proprietor of the Barrow House, Rowena, for giving us the opportunity to do this thing that we love. Okay. Let's talk AI and fields. Which fields do we feel? And again, I like to disclaim this. None of us are experts at language models, right? We're speaking from experience and perceptions. Which fields do you think are going to benefit the most from, or have, and are going to continue to benefit the most from the birth of AI, and which fields do you think are going to suffer? And can there be an overlap?
I'm going to give the fields that are going to suffer the most. I think the entertainment industry is basically already suffering from the effects of AI, where your voice, actually every field is going to suffer, especially if you're using your voice as, you're marketing your voice or your image, where you find a picture, your picture is put in a situation. There was a time where during the arrest of Trump, when Trump was going to court, that those images that came, me first of all, I believed the first ones I saw before I knew it was AI. So I think there is currently a lot of misinformation, especially in that industry, even the news, the media. Now there was a point where they would say we hate, Facebook hates our mothers coming, where they would share anything. Now I think they are fallen victims of AI. Like they see a video of even some animal that doesn't exist or doesn't make sense, and they're like sharing it on their status. If someone who has not heard of artificial intelligence sees those things, they believe them. Of course, the images, there's a way they look. Like you can, if you're keen, you can tell this is AI image. But there's someone there who doesn't, who looks at it and just believes it there. So I think, but for corporate, I think we're going to, when we are using it to make reports, make this report better for me.
Don't snitch on yourself.
Give me ideas on how I can do this.
Your boss might be watching. Don't snitch on yourself.
No, I'm not snitching on myself, but a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah,
where we are using it to write. But it's also, even in academics now, now they have brought, because AI, people were using it a lot to do tests, to write essays. Now they have brought, of course, other things that will say this essay was written by AI. I'm sure they say when you copy and paste without editing, you have to actually retype it because there are other things that are now going to show that this is AI. So it's affecting every bit of us.
Well, what about that guy with his bridge business? That guy is still having a good time unless he talks to AI to help him design a better bridge. Speaking of deepfakes and everything, we'll get back to that, right? Kyria has something to say, but I'll get back to that later. We are indeed living in a world of deepfakes. Like right now, it's so easy. It is so easy to come up with something. Let me give you a very simple example. If you guys have time and you can go to TikTok, and I think it's even beyond TikTok, it's now Instagram. But people are utilizing artificial intelligence to create videos to sort of bring to life stories from the Bible. I don't know if you guys have seen those short clips, right? And the thing that kills me is how uncanny they are. Like if you watch that video, you might actually think, oh my God, there was a reporter back in Bethlehem when Jesus was born. Like I think my favorite one was the one that
after the resurrection.
That was after the resurrection. That was hilarious. But the one that chronicled the Exodus, like the Israelites leaving Egypt, and I was like, Jesus, the Moses one. And this guy, so it was kind of created from a POV, right? So it looked like the Pharaoh was holding a smartphone and talking into the smartphone, but he was using a Nigerian accent. And I'm like, why am I looking at a white guy speaking in a Nigerian accent and he was referring to the Israelites as his labor force, about his labor force, right? Like that is how I feel like, yes, we are in a world of deepfakes where it's easy to, create something that is not real and put it out there. But I think there is also, we need to give credit where credit is due. AI is boosting creativity in its own way. I'm not saying we should be heavily reliant on it, okay? There is something about human interaction and, of course, utilizing our own brains. But look at that. These are things we never thought could be. Did you ever think in your wildest dreams that you would watch a pharaoh speak in a Nigerian accent about his labor force that Moses was taking away? Yeah? Did you ever think? You see, it's that crazy. That's
saw what you did there.
Yeah. This is... I bet this one they take the labor force. He can't he told me that the Lord said something like that. I was like, no, this is too. It looked too real. But okay, of course, I'd like to get your opinions further on AI and deepfakes, but we shall also, I think, talk about AI and creativity after that. Yeah.
Anyway, here you're here. Good evening. I wanted to continue with the previous question, the previous topic about
Which fields are going to suffer and which fields are
Exactly.
going to thrive? Yeah.
yeah. So on that, I think, like you said, like generally, we're all going to suffer one way or another. But I think mostly it's going to be the creative community, mostly. It's going to suffer. I mean, it's suffering exactly like already. So like now, anyone can come up with anything. Any second. All you need is a prompt. And you have a video, you have an image, you have an article, whatever.
Yeah.
So the creative community right now is suffering a lot. And this is just talking about, like the cons. The pros are also,
Yeah, the pros are there,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the cons, it's taking people out of jobs. Like people are suffering, the creative community, people have lost jobs. Like a project that would take, say, maybe a group of like 10 people. Now you only need like a person or two.
Who can prompt, by the way?
Exactly.
You just have to be able to prompt.
And then you have what you want. So, but in general though, I have to say, AI is a blessing.
Okay, here's the
Trust
thing.
me.
Here's the thing. I like that.
It is.
There's very few people who can openly come out and say, "Oh my God, AI is a blessing." You know why? Because then they're afraid of being looked at a certain type of. Oh, so you're the people who use AI and you're doing this.
No.
I do get where you're coming from, which is going to also get me to my next question. But when I've realized whenever we talk about, there's two things that whenever we talk about on any platform, not just this one, but whenever they come up on any platform, people focus on the cons: social media,
Exactly, yeah.
social media, and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it has to be pros and cons.
Yeah, every time you bring up social media and artificial intelligence, everyone runs to the cons.
Exactly.
Social media has made us, it's created us, it's giving us main character energy. We are faking, we're doing this, and now AI is taking jobs, which it is a fact. AI is taking jobs, but it's also creating jobs. Yeah,
More jobs.
AI
even.
is creating jobs. Yes. Do we have to do some extra work to catch up? Yeah. But there is now courses on large language models. There is courses on artificial intelligence. And these are being, provided by reputable institutions. I think MIT does courses on large language models. Oxford also does courses on large language models. See, there is still for every opportunity that comes up, for the death of one opportunity, I think it always opens the doors to maybe one or two more opportunities. We just have to be more willing to embrace these things, right? In terms of, you see, with industries, it's tricky. With industries, it's tricky. I get where you guys are in terms of creativity and the creative industry, because we've seen it's now so easy. Someone can just sit in their bathroom and, prompt, and they have a song and they have a video, right? But I've always thought of AI less as an enabler and more of an amplifier. What do I mean? If you do use AI correctly in the way that, a lot of people claim it should be used, right? It is supposed to amplify what you're already good at, right? Why it's so easy for people to see a deep fake or read an article and go, "Oh, that's AI." There is a loss of a personal touch. I don't think artificial intelligence should be relied on solely without the input, with human input. AI can only function as AI as long as human beings continue to function as human beings.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But that being said, yes, we are getting to a point where it's going to become a large part of everything that we do. Almost everything that we're going to do right now, especially with technological advancements going forward, is going to involve AI. That brings me to my next question. Should AI have limits? should there be governing bodies or limiting aspects to the utilization of AI? Because with the way it's being used now, bruh, we're all over the place with this guy. I'm about to prompt a Renzori Roboto. You first wait. Prompt it here right now.
Yeah.
But should AI have limits? In your opinion, do you think AI should have limits?
Yeah. So I think you would say it should, but how? It's very complicated. AI as it is sophisticated. It's freaking AI. So you'd think it should have limits. How or why? Because of the things it can actually do. We have a fear, a natural fear. I mean, we've watched movies, AI movies, and they've given us a certain trauma. You get, like the Terminator one. So you feel like it should have a limit, but then how? It's
Well,
I don't think it's applicable. It's
really?
not easy. Yeah, it's really not.
Now, it's Daniel here. Concentrating on that, I've seen a video of the godfather of AI, some video circulating. The guy was worried of the effects AI could bring to the community. First and foremost, I believe AI needs regulation and sensitization. At the rate it's improving and being provided to people, it's so fast in an extent whereby we don't even understand where it's heading. You get? It's at a fast rate. There's need to be some consideration on those people that are going to be losing jobs because of AI and its improvements. So I strongly believe we need to first of all take a step back. Like you said before, it's being used in the wrong ways. You can prompt anything within just a second. Can you imagine? Just a second. Back in the days, you could take some 2 days, 3 days to come up with a video. You know that? You take some, you had to put some work in.
You talk about videos, don't take reports.
Videos, images, reports, and
Reports.
so on. Very many fields, You had to take time, put in the effort, and at the end of the day, you could come out with something, But right now, AI is making life simpler. That's what one could say. But I believe it's destroying us in a certain sense, We are going to be dependent on AI.
One question.
And for instance, if AI was to shut down and you've been used to making reports with AI, how would you go about it?
Don't ask me that question. Why are you asking me that question?
How would you go about it? Because now you have become lame, You have become lame and dependent on AI. The moment it disappears, it means your career and everything that you've been doing is going to disappear with what? With AI.
So when you talk about limiting, because
Yes.
when we say we are limiting, we are not completely taking it away, we are regulating. From your point of view,
Yes.
I can see that if you're from your point of view, if you're to go in the direction of limiting, you'll say, okay, there is certain areas in which the utilization of AI should be minimized,
Should be
right?
minimized, yeah.
Let's say, for example, in the creative industry,
Yeah.
right? Maybe just a little bit of the minimization of AI. Let's say in corporate, right? I studied statistics. I cannot tell you how many times in the last 3 weeks I have used AI.
Yes.
I can't. I will be lying if I say I don't. A big part of what I do involves understanding large data sets, breaking them down, and then creating something so simple that anyone can see and learn and understand, right? I won't lie. Artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT, I've used a lot of artificial intelligence, but specifically, I think because I'm quite adept with the interface of ChatGPT, it makes it slightly easier for me to do my work. So you're right. Maybe, yes, in terms of regulation, maybe there's certain industries where the utilization of AI can be limited, just to, boost a bit more human, bring in a bit more of the human touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to add something. There's a saying that says, knowledge is power. And if it is AI that is having the knowledge, it means it has the power over us.
Oh, Mamanze.
If you believe that, if you look back, people that used to have the knowledge used to be considered as the big dogs in society. You get it? The big brains, the Albert Einstein. But right now, it is AI. AI can do anything.
Yeah.
Whatever you ask it, it can prompt, it can do it within seconds, you know. It means we are handing over power to something that is artificial.
So, someone was disagreeing with you right there.
Who is that? Okay. I think
Because
I can
the,
pass
the,
you
moment,
the
the,
mic.
the moment you said knowledge is power, we're handing
You
over
see,
power
the
to
way
AI.
I understand it, this is going to be kind of a debate thing.
It is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is okay.
So
Let's-
I hope we take it as that. You speak, I speak.
Yeah.
I challenge you here and there, you know.
People used to make money through ignorance. You know, if someone is ignorant and I have knowledge over that person, it
Yeah.
means I have a chance to make money off that person. You understand? But if AI is out there serving everyone openly, it means some of us are not going to be able to what? To make a living.
You are the ones.
Understand?
Eh?
Some of us are going to be able to make a living. You know, back in the days, if you wanted to make a CV, you could go to Main Street in Ginger. Look for those guys that have, computers and printers, and they're like, I want to make a CV. And they'll print something for you and they'll take money from you. Right now, you just have to go to ChatGPT. Make me a CV. You know? Free of charge, moreover.
Yeah, but
Free of
well,
charge.
you still have to pay at some point if
No,
you want to use it well.
there are some platforms where you can do it free of charge.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because now we have very many people that are providing what? AI. You know, it is a wave. It has come. We can't do away with it. You know,
Yeah.
but
You
we
know-
have to be cautious.
You know what AI reminds me of? Electronic funds transfer, not just in the sense of banks and EFT, but you remember when mobile money came in?
Yeah.
And now we can actually transfer funds across platforms, across countries. When is the last time any of you went to Western Union? Do you even remember Western Union? But you remember there was a point in time where Western Union was the thing, right? They sent you money from Canada, you had to go to Western Union. Now the guy just says, so what's your wave? Do you use PayPal? So it reminds me, what we're going through with AI now reminds me of that in the financial industry when that happened. But let's go back to AI and handing over power. So people want to challenge you on that.
I don't think it's really challenging. I don't know if we're using the same AIs and stuff like that. I think for us to effectively use AI, we're going to need to be skilled. Not everyone is able to use AI. Even just going back to the example of you making those, what were you calling those pictures?
The Ghibli style pictures.
Those pictures. You are supposed to prompt it. You're supposed to give it a picture, right? I remember giving it a picture and it gave me something complete. And I even laughed. I was like, because I prefer calling it chat. I was like, this is not the same thing. And it was like, I appreciate your sense of humor. Give me more information. So I believe like, still, as much as we are relying on AI, it's also relying on our intelligence. It's like Wikipedia, where the more someone learned more information, they go and feed it. Before you started chatting with this AI, it wasn't calling you anything, and then you're like, okay, from now on, call me this. So I think it's going to, as we said, survival for the fittest. The people who are going to educate themselves about AI and actually use it to their advantage are going to benefit. The ones who don't educate themselves on how to use it, it also gives wrong information sometimes.
Sometimes.
We have, yes.
Sometimes.
Okay, a lot of times, you see. Yeah, you see, even the videos created by AI, you even see the hand passing where it's not supposed to pass. You get?
Yeah.
So I think it's, as much as we are relying on it, there are so many things that have come and have threatened us how they are going to take over humanity or something like that. I think that's the case of AI. Is the effect more exaggerated? I think so. The effect is more exaggerated because it depends on us. I think now the effect is us to make it control us, where you're going to ask AI 1 + 1. You lose your ability to think as a human being. Is our brain going to shrink because something is doing the simplest task for us? I think that would be the impact, but it's running us. I think we are going to run it if we are using it the right way.
So I just want to get something out, to make something clear. I don't I don't think we are all getting the definition of AI. First of all, AI is us. How? AI wouldn't be what it is right now if it wasn't for us. All the knowledge it has, it's us. AI doesn't have a single knowledge, a single thing it can do or say that we don't know already. You get? Everything AI can do, we know and we can do. It's code, first of all. It's code. The information it has and it gives us, it's the information we feed it. It doesn't think for itself, because that would be scary if it ever gets there. Now that's the hard part. That's the scary part. If it ever begins to think for itself,
So artificial intelligence,
game over.
artificial intelligence with their own autonomy, yeah? Because, like you said, artificial intelligence at the moment is heavily reliant on human beings.
exactly.
So artificial intelligence with its own autonomy, that is, someone can create something, leave it be, and then it does its own thing.
Exactly.
That's
And I have a feeling like my intuition says it's never going to get there.
the movies are lying to us.
It's never going to get there. AI will never think for itself.
Josh, do you want to say something? Uh-huh.
In my own perspective, I think AI is actually just simplifying things for us. The fact that someone is using it correctly or wrongly still remains the same. Even if it wasn't because of AI, people would still execute the same tasks. They would actually instead take much longer. So, and when you look at how it affects who and like, for example, instead of drafting your CV as someone said and you give money to someone, instead use AI. This way, when you look at it on the side of the one who was doing the job, it's disadvantageous. But
Yeah.
on your side, it's actually cost efficient,
Yeah.
because I've actually not spent money.
Return on
yeah.
investment.
Yeah, so there, I think...
I
Everything
do
is okay,
have
yeah.
like, and I'm glad you mentioned simplification. I think why it's becoming such a big thing, and this is me taking a very, very radical thought, but it's a very radical thought, but we're living in a day and age of convenience. You get that? Convenience is highly valuable and highly marketable right now. You do realize that these days most people want to shop online. It is much easier to shop online than it is to go on Main Street from shop to shop to shop to shop. Someone will just say, let me put Jumia. Yeah, I get 28 things. Yeah, they will come when they come. When they come, I will. Yeah, because we have gotten to a point where convenience is a big thing. I've seen this especially now with movies. You remember back in the day, and Kyria runs his own movie store, so he knows this. Back in the day, these guys, this guy, I remember Roche. I would go to Roche and the place was packed because people are going to buy movies, right? And then come the day and age of convenience, and you have streaming services, right? If you can afford the streaming service, you don't need to go anywhere. It is all in the convenience either of your phone or whatever device you're using, right? But extending beyond just that, let's talk about delivery services, like with restaurants. Most times people, the first thing they ask about a restaurant, do you guys deliver? Right? And I think what I think has amplified the effect of AI right now is that it falls in the bracket of convenience. It's making everything easy in its own way. It's making everything easy. Like you said, you don't have to go to Main Street to print a CV. You can do it with AI. If you're not finding what you're looking for, research on the internet, you just prompt AI and they will tell you, okay, look at this specific link and look at this specific link and look at this specific link, right? Convenience. It has fitted so well in the trend that is running the world right now, which is convenience. I think that is what has really amplified. Because if it was still back in the day, give us 10, 15 years ago, where we were still heavily reliant on interpersonal connections to get things done. If I needed a CV, I'll go to someone on Main Street. If I needed movies, I would go to Kyria. If I needed If I needed food, I would go to the restaurant. If I wanted it, then I would order takeaway and go home with it, right? I think if it was that, then back in the day, maybe the effect, and this is just a wild assumption, but maybe the effect of AI back then would not be as big as it is now. Right now, it's just really falling into, in my opinion, convenience. We're in the business of convenience these days, and anything that makes life easy is going to boom, right?
Okay, basing on what I've heard, it's a double-edged sword, you know. One benefits, another one loses from it. But my concern is the people we are leaving behind. You know, most of the providers of AI, they're not from Africa, if I'm right. These are companies, big companies from Western worlds, China and whatnot, you know. Those countries have taken initiative, you know, to sensitize their people on the wave that is coming.
Yeah.
You understand? And for us African countries, we are falling behind.
Actually,
we are jumping on the wave, but we're not sensitizing people.
Yeah.
Like you said before, how many Ugandans are having smartphones? You know, if you try to go through the statistics, you know, you can tell. You find that it's a small population of Ugandans that are having what? Smartphones, you get. So it means most Ugandans are going to be left what? Behind. That's why I was like, there's need for sensitization, you know? I can jump on the wave, Chiria can jump on the wave, but the people we are leaving behind are going to suffer the what? The most. And for the developed countries, they are putting this into consideration, and we are not doing it. You understand?
I was actually
So
just,
at a certain point, it's going to affect us more.
I was actually just about to ask. I was going to ask, what does?
Let me add something
Uh-huh.
small. You know, like in my family, my brothers and sisters, you can find that for me, I'm aware about AI, and I'm trying to learn more about AI. But my siblings are not even concerned. You understand? No sensitization. They don't even care about the thing. They're like, what is AI? What is going on? You know? It means they are going to be left what? Behind. But in America, China, schools are integrating AI into their education what? System, helping everyone to be on the same what? Level. I think you're getting my point.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the challenge we're having as Africa. AI is a wave. We are not going to deny it. If you go back, there is this bomb that was hit called Hiroshima. You know, after hitting that bomb, most countries were like, what is going on? They had to adapt to the condition that was going on. Now you find that there are very many countries that are having nuclear what? Bombs. You get the point? So we have to do the same thing. If AI has come, we have to learn from it. We have to sensitize so that everyone can be aware of what is going on.
So, someone there has something to say.
Yes, I have something. Yeah, I've had all the advantages of AI. But can I survive without AI? Totally. Yeah.
The question is, do we have to? Because it's from what we are experiencing now globally, it seems like AI is being embedded into every facet of our livelihood, right? Our social media platforms have AI. By the way, we're about to stop texting because you could just command your device to, you know? Yep, all that is artificial intelligence. So, yes, can we survive without AI? Probably, yes. Are we being put in a position where we can?
No, I still disagree because for me, I think AI is like, okay, I'm leaving out the robots, the physical ones, the restaurants where robots are carrying food. But generally for search engine, I feel like AI is like some search engine that is way faster. Like it brings the information. Because like now, of course, you go to the URL page, they have that prompt thing that gives you that thing.
Yeah,
but
the
who has been
chatbots.
using that?
Yeah.
Even hospitals, they still have those sections on the internet where you can ask that. But how many people use that? We still prefer to go to the doctor and look at him physically. We still prefer to call customer care and talk to that. That's why I said, is it a threat as they're making it seem? People can still use their brain on something.
People use your
Please
brains.
disagree with me.
I think it's a technological advancement, and we shall adhere to it with time.
Josh had just said, whether we want it or not, we have accepted.
Yeah. And you know, naturally in life, man just wants to simplify everything. Everything that you can do,
Yeah.
you look for the simplest option. They tell you, oh, you want you want, let's say, what can I say? You want a microphone? Okay, there's one that has a wire, there's one that is wireless. Someone will be like, they all do the same thing. They will obviously want the one which is wireless.
Yeah.
Because they would want to walk around freely without any disturbance. And yet they could still talk in one place.
Yeah.
So usually everything, man just wants everything simplified for him.
And
I think the inventors obviously knew.
Yeah, especially now in this day and age, like I said, when convenience is key right
Yes,
now. Yeah,
exactly,
Yeah,
it's
convenience
true.
is key. But that being said, though, we can talk about AI for good, but my producer has given me like 4 signals. It's like, bruh, today. So we could talk about AI ad nauseum, but I think where it's being utilized effectively, it can be really, really revolutionary, right? I've read articles where people are utilizing, like blind people sometimes utilize AI to cross the road using audio, like it's an audio thing that helps them navigate the roads. We've, even in our everyday lives especially, we've seen how sometimes, and I'm not saying we should be overly reliant on it, but we've seen how sometimes it can simplify life, right? The downside is obviously there is certain aspects of our livelihoods that are going to suffer from that. There's even certain aspects of human connection that are going to suffer from that, right? I think we have gotten to a point where overindulgence of artificial intelligence is real. It's getting real. It's a real pandemic right now, overindulgence of artificial intelligence. Okay, some people are really finding it difficult to do the simplest of things without, like, for example, if, like you asked, if ChatGPT, let's not even talk about any other AI platforms, if ChatGPT is to shut down right now for a week, the panic that would, I'm talking globally, not just in the African side, but globally, if ChatGPT was to go, I'm done for the week, one of 2 things will happen. Of course, global panic, but I kid you not, I think by day 4, someone would have created an alternative AI. Because that is, I think we've gotten to a point where we are that reliant on this thing, which is not the best for the human race right now. Yes, it has its pros, but because again we are thriving in the world of convenience, we tend to overindulge, right? You wanted to say something before I close out?
I wanted to say last month, chat went off. I did not see a lot of people talking about it.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
I remember people going to ask on X and asking Grok, what happened to your cars in chat? So like, I think we can really do without.
You see that they had to ask another AI what is going on with the other AI. So regardless, these cousins, Grok, Meta, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, man, there are so many. Copilot on Microsoft, there are so many. Quillbot. But yes, the fact that chat can shut down and people will still go to Grok to ask Grok, bruh, what is wrong? I think you see that indulgence that we have, right? There is a need. And I think, again, convenience-based. Yes, it's beautiful what AI can do, and I think the future is still really bright in terms of what can be done with AI, but overindulgence could be a real thing, right? And also for the African context, like you said, sensitization is important. A lot of these countries have given it time where they're even putting up courses, right? I think we as an African society, we need to stop playing catch up. I think we need to put ourselves in a position, because AI for the African context can be very, very revolutionary for us in terms of what we can achieve. But that is if we are not playing catch up. I think the moment we stop playing catch up and waiting for these things to come to us and take a proactive stance to actually educate ourselves about them, learn, and even create those that are more relevant to us, I think moving forward, it's going to be a really beautiful thing. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen,
before we close,
I
wanted to add something. As much as we are adapting to AI and everything for our daily use, we should not forget that with every advancement, there's a group of CEOs that have sat and said we are going to make this amount of billions from people using this. So, cautiously using these things. If it's not necessary, please think.
Have you heard Kia has said, if it's not necessary, think. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of what has been a quite riveting conversation. Like I said, none of us are experts in artificial intelligence or large language models. This was a conversation driven by perspective and experience utilizing these things. So don't put in the comment and say, this one was lying. So no, this is experience. This is lived experiences for us. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, The Talk Track is an independent production of the Kara Junkies, produced, edited, sound mixed, and shot by Moro Moro, my producer. And thank you so much for being here with us. Shout out to the Barrow House for giving us this opportunity and this platform. We'll see you all next Sunday for another engaging conversation. My name is Roy. I've been the host for the evening, and peace out. Thank you so much.